Yes, guys, welcome back to the instant reaction. Apologies, not in my usual studio today, so I haven't got my mic. Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 2 at the Emirates. Instant reaction. I can't do this season anymore. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah,
Oh,
mate, you know what? It's getting to the point where I just feel like you're tired of what you're watching and
I'm tired, Robbie.
no, things just aren't falling for the team. And I also think some of it's so self-inflicted that it's really frustrating. And I have a look at Thomas Partey's performance, and it's not as though that we were picking this on purpose. So you're picking a faulty setting, but it doesn't make the faulty setting any less easier to bear. And that's the problem. You're going into it saying, okay, I'm going to pick something and someone that I know is going to cost me at some point. Either you pick somebody like a Jakob Kivior or you pick a Thomas Partey. One of the two will cost me at one point. What do I need more of? And I think the most frustrating thing for me has to be the Sterling 80th minute sub, fundamentally, and what that represents. And I remember chatting in group chats and basically saying, Reece Nelson's back. And where would you rather be as a squad, with Reece Nelson or Raheem Sterling in your squad at this point? And it's frustrating. It's frustrating that the team can't pick itself up. It's really frustrating that I feel we had a really good first half, and then a 10-minute spell of some really poor defending on individual battles. Marino, again, great game, individual battle, should do better on the goal. Thomas Partey, I don't know how frustrating that is. He's marking Watkins. He lets him go. He actually sticks with, Watkins, and then lets him go and goes back post. And Declan's losing it, by the way. If you look at the replay, it's so poor. It's 1v1 individual battles in a 10-minute spell that we did brilliantly in the first half. I don't think that this Villa team were doing much. I thought Miles had a great game, and fundamentally, Trossard, I actually thought, had a really good game himself. And then there's moments, and then there's that kind of chance at the end. I don't know why he's not going far post. And it's very frustrating. And there's experienced players in this run. And I'm going to end on this, and I don't want to pick on him, but I thought Martin Odegaard has not been good for a while, and it's very frustrating because of what's been spoken and how people talk about how we're not allowed to criticize somebody in the team. That I feel, if you're going to place the idea that this is the captain and the best player on the team, which I've always pushed back on, but if you're going to do those things, then mate, you got to step up when things aren't going wrong. And I feel that he hasn't been doing enough for months. We know Kai Havertz is in poor form, hasn't been doing enough for a while. And you can't rely on your two most experienced players to have these types of games and not step up when you've got two injuries to first team members. And yeah, I thought Martinelli had a really good game. And when he got subbed, I was frustrated because I thought he was our best attacker, bar Trossard. And I thought that ball in behind the left back was really the play to break through. And that I think Maatsen was feeling the effects very early. And I thought even with Digne on the pitch, I thought, okay, with a better ball, the Ben White assist at Liverpool, that clip ball over the top in behind the fullback for Martinelli to run onto, for me, was on all match. And we didn't exploit that enough. We didn't do enough there. But man, it's kind of a sucker punch. It really is a sucker punch because I'm looking at it. And again, we know that we're picking faulty settings, but I'm sorry. I don't care if you're Yuri and Timber or even Trossard doing what you did for Watkins. For me, that back post after marking him is so poor. That's not you not being a right back. That's you not following your assignment. Period. End of story. You're level, you see him, you start the battle, and then you just let him go. And that's lazy. That's not Partey. He's a right back. We can't critique him. No. That is a poor individual battle. You 100% should be there. Marino, same thing. He's tracking the play. He's with him. He's got to win that duel. The best aerial dueler in Europe and Europe's top 5 leagues last year. He's got to win his duel. Nearly has a moment to kind of take the winner outside of that. But yeah, mate, it's really frustrating. Really frustrating.
I mean, what new can we say? Like, I'm looking at those benches. Villa, Leon Bailey, Emi Buendia, Luca Dean, John Duran, Donyell Marlin, us, Ismail Kabia, Nathan Butler Oyedeji, Neto, and Raheem Sterling. And that's on us. That's on us for not getting, obviously that wouldn't be happening without injuries, but we also know that there should be at least 2 more players on there who can come on and make a difference. That's on us. But also, what isn't on us is what can Arteta do? Partey is like the 5th choice right back. So let's blame Partey for what he did. Absolutely. But the goals come in the exact slot that William Saliba will be defending. Both of them. They're just in that channel where he would be defending. When Trossard missed that chance, I genuinely saw tears in his eyes. And I'm not trying to take the piss here. I genuinely think he was like close to tears. That's not even a joke. I completely understand why. Like, at what point is this season? Look, there's people listening who are going to go, "Oh, you're making excuses." No, we're not. Partey wasn't good enough. George has said Marino should have tracked his runner. We threw the game away. Are you happy now? We were bad. But also, when is this season going to give us a bit of reprieve? When are we going to get a lucky bounce go our way, or a referee call go in our favor, or a good run of injuries, or a good run of fixtures, or whatever it is? What point? Yes, we've made mistakes, but at what point are we allowed to have a bit of luck go our way? It's impossible to watch this season, man. It's impossible to watch because you feel like you're playing with your hand tied behind your back the whole time. And then you've got half of YouTube and Twitter comments going, "Yeah, but it's all our fault." Watch the game, bro. Do you think Villa are better than us? Do you? Because you're blind if you do.
It's frustration boiling over from a lot of different things. And I just maintain, when I have a look at this stuff, for me, the only thing that I'm hopeful for, and the only thing I'm actually thankful for, is I hope that we remember this time point when we're building things for the future. That's all that I'm hopeful for right now. Because for me, it's about getting back to some of the play that we know that this team can do. I look at the start of Spurs and I look at the stars of Villa right now. Back to the press, we look great. If this team can press, this team dominates the league. Period. End of story. As soon as we stop the press and as soon as we lose our physicality, this team isn't able to continue. And it happened in the second half. They were gassed out. It happened against Spurs. And you know why they gassed out? Because no, it's not just quoting the fact that we have 7 injuries. Of those 7 injuries, there's almost 4 to 5 spine players. And when you look at a chart like this in terms of the types of injuries, people want to quote injuries like Bournemouth, for example. People are quoting in the comments, Bournemouth, 9 players out, Areola did it. Areola has his entire spine of his team. It's only Evan Nielsen who is not playing. The injuries that you're citing, Sensei is probably the only one, and Dean Hughes is better than him. He starts ahead of him. So don't come quoting useless injuries to me, injuries to backups that don't matter. When you're talking about William Saliba, Bukayo Saka, you're looking at how often we didn't have Marino, Calafiori. There are 5 to 4 spine players that start unavailable for a team. And the team's going to struggle. You're going to employ unlucky, faulty solutions, and it's going to cost you. The only thing that I'm frustrated with is there are players in this team that aren't faulty. There are players in this team that are there. Ben White, I've been saying it for months. We can't wait long enough for him to come in to give us some reprieve. And when you're starting to say, like, woe is me, it's unlucky, people don't want to hear that because they don't want to admit that luck plays a factor in terms of things. But I'm sorry, luck does play a factor. You have a look at the Brentford game. I think Liverpool weren't better than Brentford. Anybody that watches that match, they had a great job. They'd get the job done in that moment. But you know what? Arsenal get the job done, and then there's injuries. I assure you, if Liverpool are unable to field Konate, Salah, take away the exact same injuries that we are. If you want to substitute with Van Dijk, be my guest. Do those things, they're not going to be winning football matches. Arsenal aren't going to be winning football matches. And I think we have something like, 7 draws, 8 draws? I don't think you can really do something with that amount of draws in a season. You can't do anything. So, yes, there's a lot of things that we can't control that aren't falling our way. Yes, there's a lot of injuries. Yes, there's a lot of that stuff. The only frustrating thing that I have is that the things that we can control, we're not doing well enough. And I am looking at Martin Odegaard for more. I am looking at Kai Havertz for more. These are 2 players that are really experienced, that we've put a lot of effort into, and there's been a lot of platforming done to make them shine. And they're not doing it. They're not doing it when we really need it. And I hope it forces some conversations about the long-term squad building, because we start to ask ourselves questions when we see these things. And, the frustrating thing is 100%, this was a good performance. It was a 10-minute spell that we really struggled. And I think beyond that, we did really well against Villa here. We did really well. And then none of it ultimately matters, because now you've got a draw after 10 minutes with poor individual battles. And, the season, it's kind of the story of the season, to be honest with you. Good intent, start well, do well. And then we're at fault with, some of the faulty solutions that we have to do. And it's really frustrating, mate. It's really frustrating.
Ivan Smith, thank you for super chat. Watson chance, Partey's side. Tielemans goal, Partey's side. Tielemans chance, Partey's side. Watkins goal, Partey's man. That man was responsible for every single good chance Villa had.
Yep.
I literally couldn't agree more. But then people will say it's not acceptable, bro. He's on like the 5th choice right back at this point. What do you expect? It's like oh, we should have 6 Bukayo Sakas in reserve. No one does. No club in Europe has that. Why do you expect Arsenal to? Mikhail, thank you for super chat. Sorry, I'm so annoyed if people can't tell. I'll cheer up in a minute. But how unlucky we've been throughout. I expect to go unbeaten in every competition next season, and even that might not make up for it. Mate, we are due. Of course, as George was just saying, there's things we can do better. Of course there are. And by the way, there's some unbelievable performances today. Miles, Declan, Gabriel. Gabriel today was extraordinary.
Yeah.
But, doesn't matter. With how unlucky we've been throughout, I expect to go and beat every. Yep, that might make up for it. Absolutely. Ryan, thank you so much for becoming a new member. Really appreciate that. Mafio, injury excuses will not work today. Villa had them too. This Arsenal team does not have pride. How do you let Emery do this to you every year? Well,
I wonder when the injury excuse will happen, when you're having your 5th choice right back and you've got your best player out, and then you've got, the one thing I'll agree with is I feel like this team was good enough to win the game. I maintain that. And, you have unlucky things. It's why we went 2-0 up, and I think that's why we were dominating. So I'm with the idea that this team could have won. But you're going to be playing on margins when you have so many people injured, and that's the point. It's not an excuse. It's that you're playing on margins to get something done, and that's because you're playing with faulty solutions. If I have, a light switch that's got, half the wire chewed up, yeah, there's times when the light will turn on, and then there's times when it won't. You got to, at some point, have a proper right back in there. You've got to, at some point,
the 9th choice, George. When it's the 9th choice, you're allowed to use it as an excuse. Yeah. Dan G, for me, that's on one man. Doesn't matter what position you start. Unforgivable defending from a number 6, opposite to the usual defense. Let the attack down. Yeah, I also just thought Partey was slow. He was slow to his man. He was slow all over the pitch. Slow in his thinking. Just poor. Just really poor. Ivan, should we be giving Nelly a run at centre forward? Kai scored today and was definitely better than he has previously, but he still played down so much. Yeah, I mean, to say for the goal, well, yeah, firstly on Kai, we'll come to that in a second, but on the goal, it doesn't surprise me that the one player with a bit of instinct in our team, Martinelli, scores that goal because he gets in front of his man. We're playing with a team of midfielders in the final third. It really is. It's just Havertz, who's basically a midfielder, Trossard, who's almost a midfielder, Odegaard, who's a midfielder, obviously Marino, right? Everyone in that final third is a midfielder apart from Martinelli. And he's the one person who gets in front of his man, sniffs a goal out, and we need more of that. That's why we spend all this time talking about the Šeškos and the Semenyos and all those guys. That's because they have that instinct, and I'm not surprised that Martinelli has that. And on Kai, I'm building a little database of moments where he receives the ball with back to goal and he's got space in behind to turn and run, and he slows it down and plays back. And I
Why
don't.
do you think?
Well, it's got to be at some point instruction, because we're resetting to do a pattern or whatever it might be. At some point, you have to face up the goal, put your hips to goal, and say, "I'm your centre forward. I'm going to go. I'm going to go for it." I don't
think he's got the physicality to do it, mate. Like I think a lot of people describe Kai Havertz really wrong. The only times that you see him, when you see him as a space invader and you see him run into space, it's off the back. He doesn't have the physical power off the jump to create physical separation. He doesn't have that. And it's why he resets. And it's why he relies on intelligent movement to run off the back shoulder of people to create space. If people are with him and he's marked, Kai Havertz doesn't create separation.
But George, I'm happy for him to do that 90% of the game. But when there's two opportunities, when the centre-backs are running backwards and my centre-forwards have received the ball in the pocket and he's got 10 yards, I want him to face up the goal. I don't, even if it's not your biggest strength. I was talking about this morning. I was on Saturday Social, and we were talking about Mikel, like one of the issues. And actually, Neve, the guest, said it. She feels like everyone has to be in their exact perfect positions all the time. And sometimes I'm going to ask my players to do something they're not entirely comfortable with. He's a professional footballer who's nearly the highest paid player at the club. If it's only a couple times a game and it doesn't work, fine. But when you're in that position, you have to do something, man.
But that's why, like, again, we're asking, but we should be asking players. I'm with the comment. I've been yelling for a center forward, Martinelli, for a while. That's somebody that can do exactly what you said in central areas. Receive back to goal, turn, face, and run. That's something that they can do. If Kai's not comfortable and not able to do it, put him out at right wing and deliver crosses, touch line. He's tall enough to receive it at that point. We don't have players in, first off, the injuries are hurting us. We don't put players in the right areas to thrive. And I think when we have a situation like today, when we're leaning down a shotgun barrel, we don't change things to make it unpredictable. Why can't Kai Havertz move out right wing? Why can't Odegaard shift over to the left? Why can't we have Martinelli through the middle of the park a little bit? Why does Sterling have to be the one that's at right wing? Why can't he go on to the left? Something that we all saw in the scouted. Sterling is a lot better finisher off the left than he is the right. Why don't we see it? I think some of these things, 100%, they're injury impacted, but also I just don't feel that we maximize the creative solutions enough.
I hear that, mate, but I'm going to move on from that. But I just think, as a final word, I think we do put Havertz in the best positions for him a lot of the time. The problem is you can't always predict the environment. And if you're finding you're a right wing and you spend 90% of the time over that side, but there's just a couple of times you find yourself inside in a perfect position to shoot and you don't, I can expect more. I don't then have to change your position and say, oh, you need to be in more advantage. No, there's just a couple of opportunities where the game is a little bit broken. You find yourself in an unfamiliar position and I need more from you. So frustrating to me, man. Dane, thank you for super chat. It's now 12 points from winning positions lost this season, defensively costing ourselves as well as being poor in attack in other games. Yeah, this doesn't feel like Arsenal as well. In terms of when we get ahead, losing points, I think and then getting into streaks and stuff like that, it just doesn't feel like us this season in terms of that. It feels like in the last couple of seasons, we've had kind of beginning of 22-23, juggernaut, you fall off. Don't quite get going beginning of 23-24, you get the juggernaut. But there's no point this season where I felt we're just going and going and going and winning and winning. It's just up and down and up and down. It's such a frustrating season, man. Horrible. Basic says the players don't want it. This is on them. I don't agree with this, mate. I'm sorry. I don't agree with this. Look, we will talk about the issues within Arsenal. Declan Rice wants that this evening. Leandro Trossard wants that this evening. Even Mikel Merino, who, by the way, I thought had a brilliant first half, maybe tailed off in the second half, and in another game, he's won that for us, and we're praising him, saying he's arrived at Arsenal. Timber is absolutely gassed. He is done out there, and he keeps running for Arsenal Football Club. Gabriel keeps going, and the ball hits Havertz's hand, and what can you do? I'm sorry, I don't believe the players don't want it. I don't believe that. Gabby became a YouTube member. Thank you, mate. If that's Gabby Jesus, please hurry up and get out my club. Dial Scott, I didn't mean that. Dial Square, manager got it spot on. Players bottled it. When I heard and part, are you going to look in the mirror and show some cojones? It's embarrassing. KSE, biggest culprits. We should probably talk about it, George. The window still open. Is there anything new we can say? There's nothing. Do you think we need a forward, George?
Do you?
You really?
Oh goodness. You know what it is for me is I just hope that we're open to creative solutions. So we're not going to say anything with the forward, but you know what I will ask you, like, okay, mate. So we buy somebody, right? Are you confident that we're going to be creative in terms of how we play? If they're not plug and play, like if the
No.
person that's available is not plug and play in terms of the profile that we need, are you confident that we can be creative enough to allow him to be platform, to change something, to do it? This for me is the biggest frustration, and this is within our control. And that's why I want to spend some time focusing on this, because I think it's respectfully, like, I love all the super chats and everybody asking for a forward, but I mean, no shit. Like, we need a forward. Great. Like, we've been repeating it for 20 odd times on this channel. We've said that, we didn't feel that our summer was good enough. It's just yes, 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 yes. It's the
January
same.
23rd, talking about it, yeah.
But I'm looking at this team, and I'm looking at things that we can do differently. And yeah, mate, like, maybe it's me picking on him. I really am disappointed with Martin Odegaard, and I'm finding it's gotten to the point, and I really want to have a section on it because of what's been said by Arsenal fans and what's been said about it. The fact that he is unable to be criticized, the fact that he is unable to be moved from the pitch, the fact that he isn't somebody on the pitch that we don't feel we have been able to effectively sub is a problem, because it's about defining who in your 11 needs that respect. And I'm talking about it not from a sense that he is a shit player or anything like that. But if a player's not in form and they're not doing well and they're dropping out of the block and they're not taking creative responsibility and they're not doing their job on the pitch, I don't care if you're the captain or if you're the pinky toe on my foot. You get subbed off, you're done. You could get somebody in there that can give us something a little bit different. And I don't trust this team's ability to do that. I don't trust Mikel's ability to give that up. You're looking at it earlier in the season. Say Ethan comes back. Our hands are tied a little bit in terms of what we've got available. But let's put that out because Ethan's back in, let's say, a week or two. If Odegaard continues this form, for example, am I confident that I see Ethan Nwaneri start a game as opposed to Martin? No. And for me, that's the problem. That's where I sit there and I say, well, you know what? I've got nothing. When fans are frustrated, I sit there and I say, I understand that, because I'm frustrated with it. I don't think anybody is away from bad form, and they're allowed to be bad. These are humans. But I just don't think persisting with the bad solution makes sense for me. And I feel for some way, when I've got somebody like my captain who is unable to affect moments when the team needs you, and if you want the tag of best player and you want that tag, then you got to do those things. And he's not.
Rice gave us more in an attacking sense today.
Yeah.
That's the level he was at today. He was poor. He's been poor for a while. Yeah. And if we're going to talk about an accountability culture at Arsenal, we have to start at the very top. Let's go start with Arteta, and then the first member of the playing squad we should look at is Martin Odegaard. Honestly, holding my hands up, I haven't been critical enough of Odegaard. I will hold my hands up and say that I haven't ignored it because I've not been actively thinking about it and not talking about it. I just haven't thought about it. But I thought about it today. It was not good enough. He doesn't provide the attacking thrust. That moment at the end, he has the ball in. He doesn't stand up in that moment and put a proper ball in with a proper whip, which is just, you practice that all day long. He's not creative enough in terms of his thinking. I don't feel the thrust from an energy perspective. Even if I don't feel you can affect a game because you're physically knocked out of it, whatever it might be, I feel that same. Rice has the legs to do it, but he also has the motivation. You can see him going around and talking it. Actually, when the goal went in for Trossard, I heard Rice going, go, go, go. Now, don't give this up. He was the one talking. And I'm looking at Gabriel, and I'm looking at Timber, and I'm looking at Miles, and I'm looking at Declan Rice, and I'm looking at those types of guys. I'm saying, who do we want to be defined by? As a team, as Arsenal, as fans, you watching this, who do you want to be defined by? Gabriel, a character like him, or a character like Miles, a character like Declan, those types of guys? Or do you want to be defined by Kai and Martin Odegaard? Not saying those guys can't be in the team, but can they be your leader? Can they be the guy that gets you through these moments?
And it's about just defining who we want to be in attack. Look, I don't want this to come across of, okay, now you want Odegaard sold. No, it has nothing to do with that. Okay. No. It's about having a look at this team and understanding that our attacking department is going to be changed. So how do we build it? The exciting thing is we can start fresh here. How do we want to platform this? And, I have a look at, like, everything that we've done and we've been able to do this season, and hate to keep bringing it up, transitions. One of those goes in, it's a different season. One of those goes in enough, different type of chance creation. And, if you want to keep Martin Odegaard, no problem. But then you need somebody in the 11. You need somebody that is able to do that. And if you're not going to have that, then yeah, I'm looking at a replacement there. I'm looking at somebody else that could provide us something different in moments that we need it. So I think we just need to be open about the idea an 11 isn't the 11. And I'm really comfortable with it. I don't know if fans are. And I think sometimes it comes across as player debates. And for me, it's just about winning game states and things that you want to do. And we want to win. And I think for me, I look at that team and it was predictable. It wasn't just because we didn't have the players there. Like, mate, when Sterling came on, I knew what he was going to do. Yeah. I knew exactly what he was going to do. And that for me is the frustration.
And the game moves on so quickly. I'm looking at midfields now, and I'm looking at like Baleba, and I'm looking at Morgan Rogers, and I'm looking at these types of guys in those types of games that we're losing. Are we matching that with Odegaard? Really? Like, if you think about when he joined in 2021, I think the game was slightly different. We were more kind of Buendia and Maddison, and that it was kind of in that era, and he probably was that sort of player. But now if you look at the midfielders he's coming up against and the way people are creating chances, I don't know. I don't know. And again, I'm not writing him off at all. We have to have a conversation about it. There was a super chat about it as well, which I think I brought up from Yusuf, who said, smell the coffee, strip him of captaincy and sign a difference maker, number 10, blow the bag on Musiala, pillow feet, no carrying, no creativity. Well, the no creativity thing is just not true, is it? Because he's got most open play chances greater than something. But yes, certain game states, and someone like a Musiala who can dribble into the box and give us a bit of thrust, man. Just gonna come back through these. Thank you guys so much for super chats, and thank you all for watching. 1,800 of you watching live, even after a result like that, is crazy. I've slightly gotten out of my depression. Not yet though. Still need a signing just to get through the season, but for big buys like Šeško and Nico, I'd wait until the summer for better deals. Hang in there, Alex. I mean, this is another aspect of this, bro. Is like, if you're the Cronkies and you're looking at us, what are we now? Potentially 9 points off Liverpool still. Look, it's not over.
No, not 9. No, we're 6 with a game in hand. Right.
Well, yeah, with the game in hand, but I count that as 9. But, basically the season feeling like it's slipping away from us. There are 16 games to go. It's never over till it's over, and I will still keep believing because I'm an Arsenal fan. Call me deluded, don't care. But look, are they looking at this season, the way the season's going, and going, it's not 22-23 where we're going, and we've called for that, didn't we? We spoke about the January window, and we said, like, are we going to do that kind of spend? But in that situation, we're looking at a potential title win, and it's quite not an easy road, but we're looking unbelievable. So maybe the Cronkies are motivated to say, okay, well, here's 60 million, go and get this title. Is there a world where the Cronkies are looking at this team and going, look, if we get Saka back, we get Waneri back, we can get through to the end of the season, and they're not sure we're going to go and do it.
Let's put it simply: if that happens, mate, we have a serious problem. And I'd be looking at Mikel to go for his own good. I'll go that strong. It's a matter of ambition, and it's a matter for me when the club is in the best position it's been in financially. It is in the best position sporting-wise it's been in since Josh has taken over. Okay? If you're not going to invest at those periods, when are you? And if you don't, it says quite a bit about me, about how you view the club. And it takes away some of the wind in my sail about my future hope. Because then I'm sat there and I'm saying, well, if I don't believe that you're going to invest at this period and you're not going to do the most you can to win, then why the hell are you here? That's what this is all about. And the reason why everyone feels like, okay, it's over is because they don't trust the team to respond. But this title isn't over. This season isn't over in terms of what we can achieve. And if you're going to do that, for me, you relegate to accepting a lost season. And that, for me, is unacceptable. That, for me, is just ridiculous. And I'm not talking about 100 million. I don't need crazy types of spend, but it's about some kind of ambition. And fundamentally, I don't sit right with, other teams making moves, and I see other people, and I see solutions, and we're not even trying. And, I have conversations all the time in group chats with people, and I'm always saying, yeah, but you know what? That's not feasible. That's not this. It's Brentford. And like you, we're both really frustrated with those comments. We're freaking Arsenal Football Club. And I'm sorry if you're going to sit there and say, big boy Arsenal Football Club cannot go out there and take one of Brentford's very good players, or a Brentford, a Frankfurt, insert whatever team that you want that's not a top 8 team in world football, and they can't do it for the price that is effectively a fifth of what they're going to spend overall in a year. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. And if you believe that, I don't think you believe we're as big as you think we should be, personally.
Yeah. You made a good point the other day about Kvaratskhelia setting the market as well.
Yeah.
That's the best winger on the market, and he's moved for less than, 80 million euros. So go do something.
67 million pounds, mate. 67 million pounds.
Thank you for your super chats. I'll come to as many as I can. How does the ref not review the Havertz handball? There's quite a few of those. People saying, do you think it was it the handball, etc., etc. So let's answer all of those now. I think it was. I'm sorry.
I saw an angle that for me looked like it hit his hand.
I'm sorry.
Personally.
If Villa score that goal and they win 3-2, I am on this podcast.
Corruption. Yeah.
Bro. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I joined you on the corruption train, George.
Yeah.
That's our bad. Albert,
that was hands.
Thank you so much for your super chat, really kind. Lefko says, because of injuries and luck, first 11 need to be perfect. And this is kind of the point George was making earlier. It's like when we're in this position, there he is. We're in this position. The margins, like you have the football is of course about for our margins, and your quality means you just keep going over and over and you turn them for you. When your quality isn't on the pitch, you're so much more at the mercy of it, and that's where we're at, which is just what it is. Yusuf came to this earlier about Odegaard. Thank you for that. Cosmin, guys, please no excuses. We know Partey and out of great players, but bottlers. I'm not sure they're bottlers, but I will say, Mikel on the phone. I will say,
Josh, he got upset at me for saying
stop winding up the fans and saying I'm going to spend. It's my call from Sky Sports to stop defending the club. That's it. But I do think on this, I'm going to say this, and people know what I mean. I can't wait for Partey to leave the club. He just needs to leave the club. Just move on. I want it over. I want that done. I just want it done. And I'm not going to say more than that. How good was Trossard today? Was third handball? We'll talk about Trossard. Yeah, I thought actually Trossard was one of the few players that I looked at, and he had a brilliant game. And actually, the frustration is we kind of pulled the same trick again tactically in terms of those runners on that far side with Marino and Havertz. Like, it was looking really good, and Trossard was occupying those spaces. I thought we could have been a bit braver. Maybe Miles could have pressed up, but as the game went on, I thought we would. But obviously, the game just changes, which is a shame. Mohamed, Partey is our fourth choice. True, but we could have played Timbit right back and Kivior centre back. No, please be as reasonable as we know you to be, bro. If we'd done this and Kivior's cost us points in that position before.
No, but are we saying, Kivior cost us those same points at Liverpool in the exact same situation over a transition, and again, they're both faulty solutions, right? Partey and Kivior will both leave blindside runners, and we'll lose a 1v1 duel at some point in those zones because that's not something that they're ultimately covered in. And so, we could have done it, but do I doubt that another situation Kivior wouldn't cost us in a similar type of way? Yeah, probably. I do. So, look, I had a solution. People won't like it. I did want to see Declan back there and to put a little bit more of Jorginho up top and add a little bit more passing threat in the middle of the park and add some more runners. That was my solution. I'm so sorry
to say this, but in that game, Declan dropping back and Emile Smith-Rowe in the midfield.
Who? The one that scored today?
Oh, annoying. And it's not because Emile Smith-Rowe is the best player in the world. It's the profile that we didn't replace. And we've spoken about this. We're not going back into this. We have a great team. If we try, says Nathan Piper, if we try and rebuild half what the Chelsea's, Brighton and Forest do, then we can find our best 23 players in a gladiator style turnover of players. Well, yeah, I mean, just go. Just do you know what we should do? Just go and do whatever Brighton have just offered a player, or Bournemouth at this point, by the way. Just go and offer double. Just go and offer double. That is, honestly, you wouldn't do too badly if you just got rid of your scouting department, didn't pay anyone, and just went, what? Fabrizio, who are they after? Tell me, I'll go sign them. Thomas says, give MLS a run at LCM when Calais back. Bro, he's not coming out of my team. I'll tell you that. He's not coming out of my team. So I don't care where he goes at this point. He's not coming out of my team.
Yeah.
What
no, I would love to see him. I would love to see him in his proper position.
He's not getting, bro. He's unbelievable. Carl, thank you so much, mate. Oliver, last season we were locked in for 90 minutes every single game. At this season, I feel we have constant lacks in concentration, which equals goals against us. Yeah, defensively, like we kind of discussed it, but there is the problem is we are again talking about our fifth choice right back and Saliba and Gabriel, etc., etc. But still there are things we can control. I do feel we've lapsed a few times, which isn't good.
But part of the problem is, mate, we've got 20. What match day is this? This is 23, 22?
I don't even know.
I know someone in the chat can double check for me, but I do know we've played over 13 different backlines this season. Configurations. 22?
Yeah.
Okay. So, over half have been different configurations. And I'm sorry. Let's assume you're the best defensive team in the league. There's no way you're getting consistency doing that. No way. So 13 out of 22, we're going to have different configurations for it. I don't know. You could survive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but 13? That's a lot. That's a lot.
But when Van Dijk was out, that was the reason Liverpool was so bad. And they're allowed to use those, but we can't. Partey is not right back. We can't blame him. Yeah, we kind of covered that, Johnny. Thank you for the super chat. We can blame him because it's awful defending, but equally we have to take that into account. Andre, do you think that hit Havertz's hand? We discussed that a bit earlier. Cosmin, guys, we're in a league with a wounded Man City. Think about it. This is our last chance. I don't agree. This is our last chance, by the way. I really don't. I'm not like this coach is so annoying because he's so bloody good. But there's just a few things that, and like honestly, I know people will think I'm deluded, and I don't honestly don't care. If we had a bit like what, okay, the Rice sending off doesn't happen, and that Marino thing hits his hip rather than his hand, we're having a completely different conversation. Mikel's done exactly the same job, exactly. He's set everything up exactly the same. So that's the difference between him being world class and terrible, is it? No, it's not. He's a great coach. It's just the fine margins are going against us, and there's things we can do to deal with that. Jacob, call this delusional, but if we strengthen the forward line, I can see us going on a mad run. And again, this is the thing, because the margins are so fine, I don't think it's going to take loads, which makes the lack of activity all the more frustrating. I don't think it's going to take loads for us to go and do something. I think one signing could just give us a lift, and we're off.
Well, we need somebody to give us a lift. we need somebody to give us a lift, and look, it can come from a signing. I think Miles had a really good shot in the arm. The last 4 or 5 games gave the team a lift. You're looking at it, Ethan, Ben White. There's some players that we need to come back, and they need to come back fit quickly. And that just fundamentally is what it is. And I think we're going to see some players that we just haven't seen in so long that I really do feel do something special for the belief in the team. I just want us to match the freaking ambition, mate. Like, that's about it. I just want us to do the best we can and squeeze the most water out of the sponge that we have. That's what I'm looking at. And then I'm looking at trying to do better. Then I'm looking at things that we can do better. I'm looking at Mikel. I'm looking at the players. I'm looking at the club. I always look at 3 at that. And I just think that right now we are doing the best we can on the pitch. We need to see a little bit more off the pitch. And that's something that we all know about.
Rumedy, thank you for super chat, mate. Was at the ground. Players dead on their feet. At no point after the equaliser was I confident we were scoring. Odegaard is not my captain. I think, well, two things I want to come back on there. I mean, the players being down on their feet, I think is such an, like, look at Timber, bro. He can't move, and fair enough. I'm so glad I think we heard some news that Ben White's back on the training ground. That is huge. Honest, even Ben White being available in this run, I think would have saved us 4 points probably. It's just the margins are so fine. Yeah,
but not even people forget. I mean, Ben White was our best right back a year ago. Like, that's a huge player out. Like, that's a massive player that comes in, and also offensively, we have really missed Ben White offensively quite a bit, more than people think. I think when he's in, we're going to see it. It's going to become a lot more clear. And I'll say this right now, Martin Odegaard is going to magically get into form. Once Ben White is fit and in this team, Even with Saka out, I will guarantee you Martin Odegaard will come into form.
Gabby, very telling we went to the left more. Odegaard, well, I think we were further to the right in the first half, but certainly to the left. I think it was more to do with Trossard. Something that does frustrate me, though, I will say, is, I mean, firstly, this game was ripe for narrative. And they're cutting on Sky to like the pictures of Dennis Bergkamp, and people are going to take this the wrong way. But they're going, oh, he'd be the one popping up with a goal today. Meanwhile, his stats at the bottom say 1 goal in 4. And I'm like, well, Kai Havertz is currently performing at a better rate than that. So this, I think we constantly hark back to the yesteryear, and it's like you got the numbers. This, the performance we have at the moment is really good. It's just everyone's levels raised. We're in a different era of football. We really are.
Yeah.
Imran says, I've wanted Partey gone since the 4-1 loss against City in 22-23. Wow. Long grudge. I've never been fooled by him since then. Will always hide in the biggest moments. Well, he nearly threw the ball to Watkins, didn't he? Do you remember that moment? He just chucked him the ball.
Doesn't look where he's passing, period. Not just
other moment. Well, yeah, there was some recovery pace and some moments where he was stepping up in the press that he's just, look, I honestly don't want to talk about him. Our left back is overstocked. Sell one of them, get a defender who can play right back, even if it is a loan deal. Partey most never play right back again. Well, I think Ben White's close, and then it will mean Timber that can go back in there and actually go back in there with a bit of energy. Also, I think we, I just think that has a massive knock-on effect, to be honest. Like, I really do. And on the left backs, we're trying to sell Zinchenko, so I think we are trying to do that.
Yeah.
Aditya says, Odegaard is straight off an injury, and the mental state and focus to get us back in it is something that none of us can understand, and bad stretches are okay. Of course they are. Bad stretches are absolutely okay. The question is it okay to go on for as long as it's gone on? Is it okay to happen in a title race? Is it okay to happen... is it okay for us to not have another option? The problem and the point, I think, maybe I'm misunderstanding you, that you're making, but certainly I'm making, is that it's not about a player can't have bad form. Of course they can. It's just that if that player is playing every single game and there's no replacement for them, there's no other route through what they do, that's a problem, is it not? Saka and Saliba and Raya and Rice basically don't have bad games. Mm-hmm. And they come out the team, so that's not a problem. But Odegaard is in a bad run of form. We have no other option. That's the issue.
Yeah, I said it earlier, like they're humans and we never know what's going on, and they're allowed to have bad games, bad moments, but it's the absolute insistency that he is unreplaceable, unmovable, not even moving to the left, right? Like it's this idea Odegaard is the only, and I've said this on previous pods, I think I've said it to you, right? Odegaard's the only person in the 11 we're not allowed to move.
Yeah.
Ever. Whether that's on the bench or whether that's to the left or whether that's anywhere, Odegaard must stay there. At right central midfield, must do that. And I don't subscribe to that idea. I think every person in this 11 has an ability to change. And, I don't think he's void of it, fundamentally. And
your dog agrees as well in the background.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Get him on. He probably have a better thought than me today. I'm cooked. Jake Donovan, of those 12 points dropped, how many have Partey right back or sending off? Mate, I wouldn't be. Yeah, I would love to know like the axis of Partey at right back versus Arsenal points.
Well, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, it's not only on Partey, but I think it's just. I think of the 6 games that he's played right back, we've won 1, something like that.
It's more the knock-on effect of all that stuff, and we can't just put it. Today is a lot on him, but it's the knock-on effect, and it's the idea that. Okay, well, if a team is down to their 4th or 5th choice right back, what does that tell you about that team? Somewhere else, other stuff is going on. So, We Out Cheer says, we never seem comfortable with Leeds and can't get on a good run. Creatively, we're so lackluster. It's more than a potency issue. We need to identify our anchors and stick to and accommodate them. I think that's a lot of what we've been discussing. And creatively, there's so much more we can do. We've discussed loads of stuff about our high turnovers. I thought our risk versus reward wasn't good enough today. I think there's a confidence issue. I think there's a profile issue. It's all stuff that we can look at. Ryan, thank you so much for your super chat. Very kind. Have we ever won a game with Partey at right back? 1. We did win 1. Dane, on Arsenal groups I'm on, the blame goes 1.4% on Arteta. Christ.
I think you meant 40% on Arteta.
20%. 40, sorry, thank you. George can read, I can't. 40% on Arteta, 20% on players, 15% on injuries and refs, 4%, Edu, 10%, 5% on KSE. I mean, at least you're trying to spread out the blame. I can't. I actually don't care where, even if you said players was 1%, at least you're accounting for it. It's when the people are like, all of our problems this year come down to KSE. I'm like,
that's such a human thing to do, though. No, like when things aren't going right in your life, don't you always say, "Oh, if I change this one thing, my life will go good." If you take that one magic pill, your life will turn around. You know.
If I had the new shoes, George, I would feel better about myself. Come on. Alexander says it's not about selling players, but players have to earn their place. At a big club, you might have 2-star players for one position. We have to be ruthless. Odegaard needs to earn his spot. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And players like Gabriel don't come out of the team because they earn their spot every single week. Oliver, Dubai training camp part 2. We can only dream, my friend. Nasser says, now I blame Arteta. No way Reece Nelson, Fabio, and Cabia are worse than Sterling on 100k a week. I think I certainly agree with you on Reece Nelson and Fabio for sure. Send him back to Chelsea. Martin Elliott, I'm done. He's crap. Well,
was our best player today, Bart Trossard.
Martin Elliott was our best player, mate. Sterling, there's like honestly,
we will need to have a conversation.
Yeah, that is honking. It's so bad. McLovin, anyone worried about Calla? I think they're not rushing him back. That's the sense I get, that they just, when Miles is in this kind of form, they don't need to put him in the team.
Yeah. Well, look, the frustrating thing is, I would have even looked at him at central center back. You're talking about Kivior coming in. I would have rather had Calafiori as central center back, Gabriel, Calafiori, Timber. And, it's frustrating, mate. We're literally, I think, a week and a half away from having potentially Ben White back, Calafiori back, Ethan Neri back. Yeah. Immediately, those 3 change the ability of what your team can do. Saliba will be back. Like, that's 4 some big players right there.
Dane says Rice at right back. I think he could play there. I just don't want to move him out the central areas. That's probably why I wouldn't put him there.
Yeah.
Cosmin says we got a Zubimendi rumor when needed. If it doesn't happen, I'm banking on you to sanction the club and journalists. Stop manipulation. We're not just customers. I hope you're not referring to us. I can't, unfortunately, from a podcast that I mostly make in my bedroom, I can't tell the club to make multi-million pound investments. I would love to. If anyone from Stan, if you're watching, please do. O'Malley, UCL it is then. Who cares about the league anyway? Yeah, absolutely. Takor says Party 1 mistake per game. Last 3 GA were him. Goals against, I presume. Marino is Southampton level player at rest. I thought we were going to have a debate about Marino today, but we don't have the time. But we'll talk about him on the pod, I think, because there was encouraging signs today. I just think this reference is going to be lost on you, George. He's like the Barbican Centre. There's like a brutalist aspect to him where it's very functional and it's not particularly pretty, but it really works. But I still come away from games kind of going, I don't really know what I'm watching. Barbican's a very sort of multi-function purpose brutalist building. It's actually a very good reference, but you wouldn't get it because you're from Canada. We can talk about Odegaard becoming a dad. Bro, these guys make like 200 grand a week. They can afford a nanny. I'm so like, I as in you might be saying, just innocently, but if that's an excuse, like, come on. Are Stan and John best mates gifting a title? I don't understand that, Harry. Sorry.
John Henry, I think the owner.
Very good. Slight unmake says Newcastle in the Cup is our biggest game remaining. Yeah, bro. And it also comes before a break, so I hope we push on that game. There's no chance we're going to win it, but I hope we at least turn up. Josh,
come on, no, like that for me is like crazy. Like, after a break with everybody back, you don't think we can win at St. James Park?
No.
With everyone fit?
I don't, George. That's how little confidence I have right now.
Mate.
Josh, are there any academy players who could be our 9 solution? If not, could Martinelli be the answer? Don't hate Kai. Just think he needs competition. Go on, George. You're the academy guy.
We kind of talked about this on the last academy pod. There's not many attackers that are great right now in the U21s. There's a brilliant U16 group, or even U17, if you want to call them. Basically, the first scholars that's in Max Dowman's class. There's tons of really, really top talent, but I refuse to speak about 15, 16-year-olds. So I will not be telling you names, but they're incredible. They're really doing a lot of talk of the town. But unfortunately, our U21s and even our U18s that are now coming up, there's a little bit of a gap quality-wise, and we need to have a little bit of kind of a restructure there. So there isn't too much from an academy sense. There is a Noose, who we've talked about on another youth pod that you can go check out. We did a spotlight on him a little bit earlier on. So that could be a plug for Andre and Noose, who is good. I do like him.
George won't talk about 15-year-olds publicly.
Hey, Sphere Night Pen's all fair game, mate. He's older.
I did. So it's a good point about Odegaard not moving. He's not fit for every game state. Shocker, director at the board, and Mikel, not you two, but give him time to mentally adjust. Final one from Cosmin. You're underestimating your power. Our club needs more fans like you. Rational and asking for accountability. Don't give up. Thank you, Cosmin. It's very kind. I do think the club listen to fans, but I also don't think they listen to fans on making multi-million-pound investments. So kind as you are, I think that might be left to them. George, I do feel better.
Do you? That's good.
Go back 50 minutes. I am disassociated. I'll be so real.
I don't think you were here. I was just looking at you. And you were...
I think I have a power, actually. I've never changed a score. So when I make the StreamYard, it's usually about a couple of minutes before the end of the game. And this is also an indictment on Arsenal never scoring late. And I've never had to change that score. I think I set the score. So if you want me to start doing that when we're winning games, just let me know. I do feel better. I'm now looking at Unai Emery on the screen and hating him. No, he's fine. He's nice. In conclusion, any thoughts before we wrap up, my darling?
Yeah, I will say, just to wrap this up, we frustratingly played well. We let ourselves down with a 10-minute spell in which we lost our individual battles. And we're sputtering right now, really dying for some kind of consistency and a spark. And that doesn't have to come just from a transfer. It doesn't have to just come from a coach. It doesn't just have to come from a player. We're looking at somebody to take accountability, much in the same way that I saw Miles do in that North London derby, that I've seen him do, by the way. Miles Lewis-Skelly, an 18-year-old who has come in and is the best ground dueler in the Premier League, a higher percentage than anybody else in the Premier League. That's what we need, by the way. We need, and it doesn't have to be 18, but somebody to come in and just do their job. And, you know, it's amazing that he's 18 and he's already doing that. But for me, we just need somebody to step up and give us something that Miles is giving us. And you don't have to be a superstar to do it.
George.
Yes, dear.
George. Arteta on William Saliba's injury. For sure, we are worried, very worried. We will have more information, another test on him, and we will see.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Someone is out there playing a prank on this season on us. Who is it?
But mate, I don't know. I don't really look at Mikel for injury perspective. I think he is. Do
you think he's trying to get the Cronkies to sign him a centre back?
I think. Well, somebody. I think he's trying. I think he is. Every single press conference since the start of January, if you notice, there's been a jab at some kind of investment opportunity.
Thank you for watching the Cannon podcast. I'm sorry it wasn't as fun as it could be. Look, you know, we'll look back in 20 years' time, won't we all, folks? And we'll say, we had a fun ride. And that's what we remember. The ups and downs of football, don't we? We don't want to win. We don't want to win the title. We want a fun journey, don't we? Don't we, guys? Don't we? Don't we, guys? Don't we? Don't we? Thank you all for being here. We'll be back with the main podcast. Monday, it'll come out Monday. We're recording tomorrow. We'll be back with some form of scouting to try and make ourselves feel better next week. Data pod coming next week. No,
next week.
Yeah, next week. George, check out the youth pod that George spoke about. Just thank you all for being here. Thanks for helping us wallow in our sorrow. Make sure you subscribe to the Cannon podcast. Thank you, George.
Thank you, good sir.
Thank you for watching. And thanks for keeping it Arsenal. God.